stock market crash. Many events led up to the stock market crash. The stock market crash made many people poor. Shops and stores were closing, which made the economy go down. The cities faced many problems that affected the world. There were a lot of causes why the stock market crashed. For example, not enough stores were hiring, so people weren't getting enough money. People and farmers were starting to go in debt. The people thought that the great economy in the 1920s would continue forever. Another example is that banks were failing because people were spending too much money. People had lost control of how much money they were spending. Many events led to the stock market crash.
The stock market crash had tons of problems. One of the problems was all of the world had lost jobs, including the USA. An example of this is that people and farmers were starting to go in debt. Another problem was that businesses were making great profits when workers were not making very much, while still buying merchandise on credit. In addition to that is that a few businesses in each town were going bare, so there was not enough product for people to use, which they needed. Many events led up to the stock market crash. The stock market crash had an enormous amount of impact that affected the 1930s. Places closed down, so most towns had empty buildings, which made the towns look bare. Another impact was that families continued to go without money because they didn't earn any money in the 1920s. Schools were also having problems because children were forced to quit school to work, but other kids quit on their own. Also, multiple banks were losing money, which means that people didn't have as much money as they did in the beginning. That meant that people were still without some money and they needed to gain a little of the missing money. After the stock market crash, there were many changes done to the world. So, what do you think about the stock market crash?
We also think that we would be confused and frustrated because not many people knew what was going on. So what do you think?
Well, if I was in that situation, I would have felt a little scared because I would not know what would happen next.
There were a numerous number of USA citizens that were losing money. They lost money from many businesses closing down. A lot of problems impacted the world as well. For example, the citizens thought nothing bad would happen, so they kept spending their money. If I was in a we also know that it was not fun to be in debt. Many events led to the stock market crash.